3 separate services were taking place inside the synagogue at the time of the shooting, including a bris for an 8-day-old baby. I'm joined now from Pittsburgh by Zach Weiss. His father, Steve Weiss, was at one of those services inside the Tree of Life Synagogue during the attack. Zach, good morning. Thank you so much for taking time with us on what must be an incredibly painful morning for you and for your community. Your father was serving as a rabbi yesterday, filling in, I guess. What does he tell you it looked like? What happened exactly when he heard the shots?
Well, first of all, good morning, Willie, and unfortunate to join you in these circumstances, but I appreciate the opportunity to speak. Just my father was filling in, assisting the rabbi, doing various parts of the service. He was under the weather, but both were present at the service. Just the first initial sound was described as a car crash, just a very loud noise, but there were a couple of congregants that investigated just to see if it was something else. Maybe a senior citizen had fallen, maybe a hard piece of equipment fell, so they went down, but the next multiple sounds were They were unmistakable, and from there it was treated as an active shooter situation. And with the layout of the Tree of Life Or LaSimcha congregation, there are actually 3 synagogues that take up space, and there were actually 3 services simultaneously. There was not a bris as previously reported. There were 3 separate services that were going on at the exact same time. So from the Tree of Life aspect, since that's where my father is a member of, they were able to protect and go. Some of them were able to hide for cover, some were not or unable to do so, but my father was able to make sure that everybody in that congregation was safe, and then went down to try to assist one of the other congregations to see if they were safe. And when they were hidden, that's when he was able to evacuate based on a security procedure in the case of an active shooter that they had practiced the year prior.
Yes, so we've learned that there was active shooter training a year or so ago, but you're never ready to hear the sound of gunfire, especially inside a place of worship. So what does your father tell you when he first heard that sound? What was his first instinct?
Well, my father, geographically in the room, was actually seated in the very last row, and he was not supposed to be there. Our family was actually supposed to go away to see another relative, but unfortunately, due to an illness, we were unable to do so. And he got called in to assist at the 11th hour. And the way a Jewish service works, at the time that the first shot was fired, there was something called a Kaddish, a Kiddush, that was being recited, and you have to have at least 10 or more adults in the room. And when 2 congregants left that number at 10. My dad actually told me that if that had not been the case, then he would have went out with those other 2 gentlemen, and this might be a completely different story on my end. So I am thanking the lucky stars, but I am also praying for the 11 that have fallen, and praying for the 6 that are injured and their families in this congregation as we all try to heal from such a devastating day. And
clearly a beautifully tight-knit community there in Squirrel Hill and inside that synagogue at the Tree of Life. Zach, your father saved some people. He protected a lot of people. So please send him our love and prayers, and to your entire community there in Pittsburgh. Thanks for taking time this morning.
I appreciate that, and thoughts, prayers, and support from everybody, the entire community, would be tremendously appreciated.
You have them from the entire country, Zach. Thank you very much.